I know by now that many of you have heard about what the ransom note said with Nancy. Now, it's very sad. That information has been held officially, I guess, for quite some time. However, it's not anything that really surprises us. I want to show you something. Yes, we are in the big book of Bull. Hello, once again. I want to show you something because the first remote viewing that I had, I came back and explained it. And while it looks like scribble right now, hopefully I want to point out what I saw in that first remote viewing. I saw where they got Nancy up, and quite frankly, I am still convinced that there is some type of footage inside the house. I'm sorry, you just don't have that many types of, well, information. Let me say that. Savannah gave us a few little breadcrumbs, and that was that they wanted her to be brought home, Nancy to be brought home so they can celebrate her. And also, she talked about her mother. No, well, she said she wasn't dressed and didn't have any shoes on. When I saw her, she was half dressed. Well, she had like part of her pajamas on, and then she had like a blouse or something on. But that's not what I'm here. It was that part where all of a sudden they had Nancy. And Nancy, the next thing you know, is sitting in a chair, and she's not looking very aware of things. This is where the situation went wrong. Here's the back door, here's the front door, and this is what they were saying in my remote viewing. What do we do? This wasn't supposed to happen. Oh no, panic and upset sinks in. So we expected this. I expected this. You did too. You don't have to be psychic to understand that something went gravely wrong on top of the gravely wrong situation. Now let's get back over here to the big other part of the big book of Bull. Gee whiz, maybe somebody said I need to auction this off. I don't think I would, but look at all the pages that we've been through, and we're certainly not done yet. I want to show you something, and I think sometimes the little graphs and everything else help to point out exactly where we are on things, but I think it's good to give you some information. Now, I am not law enforcement. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm a forensic tarot analysis profiler, whatever you want to say. I've worked with law enforcement enough to know some of the traits, some of the gig, but I'm certainly would not claim that I am anything. I've primarily worked with families who in turn work with law enforcement. But here's what I've learned. And we're just going to draw it out as a graph because sometimes I think it's visuals that really help us. In any investigation, let me back up. Life in general, in life. Can you see that? Maybe a little bit. In life, sometimes there are things that we leave behind, and unwittingly, unknowingly, we do. And that's in everyday life. So what do we leave behind? Sometimes we leave chemicals. Let me get another pen that's a little darker for you, my darlings. I'll be right back. Let's try this. Okay, so now this is, oh yeah, definitely, life. Sometimes we leave chemicals behind us. Sometimes there are smells. Sometimes there's DNA. And you know what? Sometimes there's money. Those are the four that I always look to first. when I'm looking into a particular situation. Now, of course, there can be more. You can have emotions. You can have real estate. You see where I'm going with this? Pretty much fill in the blank. You know what these are all called? These are trails. Sometimes they're not happy trails. Chemical or a chemtrail, emotional trail, a DNA trail, a real estate trail, a money trail, a smell trail. You see where I'm going with this? In this particular house of Nancy Guthrie, there were many trails, my darlings. There were many trails. Some left from Nancy, but others left from whomever it is that is involved. And then you go through, and what I've done before, when I've worked on big cases for families, I will seriously open up just as an example, a grocery bag. You know, the brown paper bag, a grocery, you cut it so it lays flat. And when you start writing, it's like a cork board in some ways, but you can add and you can paste things. It becomes amazing. And through this whole thing, now we come back to the social network analysis. That's the SNA, or the target analysis. Well, I didn't have to dot my E, but I did it anyway. Okay. And then what is in the middle? Nancy, because everything circles around her. What trails? Now, you can also come this way. Who's got the most emotional trail? Well, we're going to put here family. You see how this starts building out. Building out. DNA. Well, we have family. We have workers. And we have the perps. Now, something I noticed last night when I saw this notification of, I believe it was NBC, and they showed the porch guy. And there's something that I've been thinking about for a long time that I want to share with you. And I don't have it here, but I want to say here, my Y doesn't look good. There we go. The porch guy. I don't have it here, but you can look up and see it. Now, here we go. The Rembrandt Zelda is going to be here. Here we are. He comes up on the porch. This is him. He's standing here, right? Oh, the more I try to fix it, the worse it looks. All right, here we are. But you see, there's something with his right arm that I've noticed several times, and I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it now. If anyone knows of a person with their right arm that is either incapacitated or does not have regular use, or that may have some type of medical issue, because you know what? The porch guy kept this arm pretty much stationary. Watch him. He walks up. It's just it's a little stiff, but he doesn't do much with it until he reaches up into the camera. Now, if I reached up to the camera, I would use my fingers, right? He had a glove on, so why is he worried about DNA? So I would reach up to my fingers. Now, was he holding the flowers at some point, or the weeds, or whatever they were? Yeah, some point. But I want you to notice in the ring cam, his hand. His hand was like this. There were fingers, okay? I think you understand. It was like this. Only this side of it actually was like that. Where he was like this, operating like this. And if you noticed, he held his hand like that most times. So, what trail is that? Are we looking at a medical condition? Does he look like somebody that could carry Nancy out? No. It's going to take 2 to 3 people, and especially if Nancy was incapacitated like she was. Look at this. This is something else, isn't it? If she was incapacitated like she was right there in that chair, I can't find it now, but you know what I mean. That's called dead weight. And especially if he had a hand. Now, maybe, in all fairness, I may be oversensitive or maybe looking at something. But if I were law enforcement, if I were anybody, the first thing that I would do is I would say, why is he holding his hand like that? And then I would start checking medical. Start checking some type of, consult some medical people. There's medical people in here. Take a look at his hand. What would make your hand draw up like this? Maybe arthritis. Maybe a condition. I don't know. I'm guessing on the medical because I can't diagnose and I'm not a medical professional. But why now? Why now are we hearing about the ransom note and that Nancy was buried in nature? And I'm paraphrasing. Maybe it wasn't quite like that, but that's pretty much what the meaning is. Nancy was buried in nature. Nature could mean anything. Now, do you remember a couple of Saturdays ago, I asked about, maybe it was this past Saturday, I asked about the sonar equipment. The terrain is pretty hard to dig. Do you remember when they first went for Nancy and they opened up the sewer drains and they had a big stick and they were poking down there? So that tells us why. Do I believe she's in her backyard? No, I don't. Because you can tell when dirt has been moved. That is what? Another trail. You can tell when anything is out of place. Is she around? I don't know. I always wondered, you know, there's a little area there beside the garage. If you're looking down at the aerial and her garage is like this, and then this goes over here into the backyard, there's an area there with trees, and it had stones that were away from there. Now, I don't think that's deep enough to put Nancy, and you have to think about this for a second. These people had one job to do. They may not have been the ransom people, because we get that from that Department of Justice complaint, where it said that the text said we're waiting on our side, whatever that was. There's different stages in this. There's the mastermind, and then there's the, it kind of trickles downhill from there. Figure out where she is, all these things. And then put the plan in place. If he may have had a medical condition, he may have needed a little bit of money. Think about that. Was he not able to work? Think about that. There's so many different parts of this. Many, many moving parts. And unfortunately, I believe the opportunity to jump on many of these were gone in the first 72 hours. Let's get out the cards. Here we are back again, my darlings, with the usual suspects on the table. While I have you, please do me a favor, like and subscribe. That really helps this channel get out this information, and you never know who may see it and who may help Nancy. Now, what I sometimes like to do, and I'm going to do that first, is I'm going to shuffle these cards. And I'm going to ask about Nancy. Give us a message about Nancy, please. Now, I'm going to I don't want to cut the deck. I'm going to look in the bottom. The King of Cups. That is the emotional part of this. It can be a water sign, if you want to take a look. I like this deck because it's a little on the dark side. And that's what this is, let's face it. So the King of Cups is that home person, that domestic person, and is this person related to or surrounded by or surrounding Nancy is what I want to say. Let's do this. Sometimes I twirl the cards because the energy just feels so rough coming off of them. This is a card of jealousy. It's a card of sometimes misunderstandings. And I still maintain that I feel that someone was brought in there to do a particular job and was not told the entirety, the details. Go in, get her, get out. And that's what I want to explain to you right now. These people don't care. How do we know that? Well, after there's a ransom note, there's still somebody saying, look, she's gone now, but we still want the money. We'll give her to you. We'll give her to you once we have the money. And then they thought the better of it, not because of Nancy or the family, but because of themselves. How hard is it to transport Nancy? Or maybe even leave her somewhere? Or maybe, my theory, she's been put somewhere where it's going to be extremely hard to recover her. And I feel a river, because the terrain there is very hard to dig. You can't just go out and plow like you're in the state of Ohio or in Tennessee or any of these other beautiful states we have and just say, look, I want to plant a flower. I want to do this. And you just go outside with a shovel and you dig and hello. Sometimes terrain is like that. And that terrain is baked in. So who knows? House of Zelda cards. It's time to look closer. I think so. And we've been told that. And I do believe that it's time to look closer now. A lot closer. Let's look closer at a few things. And believe me, I know many people now that are there, boots on the ground. And I've got to say this, doing the Lord's work. Interviewing people, looking at situations, circumstances, and the proximity of where some of these things occur in relationship to the family. What do we need to know about Nancy? What do we need to know about Nancy? A gift. What about the gift? We're going to keep that on the back burner. That's interesting. A gift. Could there be another trail of something? When I saw these people in the remote view, they were looking in drawers. They weren't looking at anything. They were just looking in drawers. Now, these cards fell out. We're going to take them. Oh. The Empress. This is a card that's all about nature and a new beginning, chilling in nature. I still maintain that she had passed, I'm going to say, I don't even think she made it outside. I know, but then how did the blood, I know. I have my own theory on that, and from what I saw, they tried to take her outside, and they saw, but here, listen. You're not going to get isolated drops like that with people around her carrying her or helping her. She would need help. It's going to have to be something that she would either have to be on some type of tarp, gurney, something like that. That's the thing that I am not able to see, and I've been wanting to see. But if she was there, and just even if it was the porch guy, one guy, you would see shoe prints in those droplets, and there aren't any. So what is that? Did Nancy hurt herself the day before? See, that's what I wonder, because I also saw Band-Aids on the counter. And there's one picture where she had a big Band-Aid on her forearm. Did she hurt herself the day of, before the party, the Saturday, and she put a bandage on and she had walked outside and then realized that she was bleeding or whatever and walked back in the house? That definitely could have happened. Now, I also feel that it could have come from her nose. But what if she wanted to go outside and take a look at something? And it was earlier that day. I don't know why I was thinking I saw a picture of her that day of, or the day before she went over to her little party that Saturday night, and she had a big bandage on her arm. That is very possible, my darlings, that she walked outside in the daylight, realized that she was injured or whatever, bleeding, and turned around and went back in. That could have been. Justice, my darlings. There will be justice, but I wonder how. And when I say that, because look, there's the death card, there's the justice. I believe they're close, but I'm also going to say this. A lot of this is going to depend on the new plea agreement with the judge on July 2nd. And I can't wait for that, because there's a good possibility the judge could release that. If they don't release that, then it's very telling. Could be family is implicated. I don't know, but evidently they've got enough information, because listen, the feds don't hand out proffers or reductions in pleas or deals without having some verified, very good evidence. They're never made Mickeys of. They don't allow you to make a fool of them. So whatever this Derek fellow had or has must be pretty good for him to get some type of deal like this. Because it went, we don't know what the deal is, but it went from not guilty to he's taking a plea agreement, and it looks like he may be getting a deal. They don't hand out deals for nothing, my darlings. Nothing. They're tough. See, it's all about the timing, and that's what I'm thinking about with Nancy. There's some timing we have not been able to put law, detective, and law enforcement. There's some information we've just not been able to put our fingers on. And as far as the timing is concerned, I'm still messed up with the timing because it doesn't make sense. Maybe it will someday. But you see, I believe law enforcement has more information than they're telling us. We might be able to guess at it. Yes, absolutely. Just like this, she was buried with nature. Well, we don't all have to be rocket scientists to figure out that we have felt that Nancy's been gone right from the go. But there's missing information, and see, this is what ties in for me. There's missing information that has been abandoned, left behind in the house. Loss. Sadness. Now what this says, this is loss, merriment, happiness, celebrating, and fortune. Now here's the thing. There was a loss in this, and it was Nancy. But someone was also still looking for the payment. They were still looking for, based on the desire, still to make it happen. I also feel that these perps, because they had to be hired by someone upper echelon, I'm sorry. These perps still needed the money. They did a job. Whether Nancy fell over or not, they did a job. They want money. They went there. This is a big cost to them. Derek may have some idea. But see, I think also their payment may have been delayed as well. There has been a huge delay as far as they are concerned. And I think there are many, and especially this one female who's waiting for the gauntlet to drop, who is involved, who got, I want to say, maybe even suckered in. But this is an investment of time, and they were hoping of money. Look, whether it's 1 million, 4 million, 250,000, 30,000 Bitcoin, whatever the case may be, there's a money trail. There's an internet trail. I still wonder why, but I wouldn't know. But those Google trend searches coming out of Colorado were handed over to the powers that be. Whether they looked into that, I don't know. We don't know. They're not going to tell us. But there's a lot of indecision here about this female. And I definitely believe it's not too late to tell the truth, because see, that's the most powerful thing in this whole situation, is telling the truth. So this Empress tells us that yes, Nancy is in nature. I still feel that there is a water reference. There always has been. And maybe this is why we don't see much of the family. Maybe they just felt, well, Mom's gone. And they're trying to reconcile and deal with it. Although, sorry, if that was me, I would want concrete information. I wouldn't just take somebody's word for it. But there is still missing information, which is the key. Will we find out more? Yes, there will be more in the next 8 days, my darlings. There definitely will be more. The number 13 is significant. So it's either going to be 13 days or the 13th of July. I'm sorry for the family. I'm sorry for Nancy. But this is up to law enforcement now. And what are they doing? What is Nanos doing? Join me Thursday night for Help, I'm Haunted. And I will see you all very, very soon. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about them holding back this information that was in the ransom note? Do you think it's significant enough? I think it is. People are jumping on it. But even in the mainstream media, they can report things that aren't correct. Maybe that's why they held on to it. Just find Nancy. Thanks for watching. Here is that picture that I was talking about. I finally found it. This was taken 2 days before Nancy's abduction. You can see there's a band-aid on her forearm, closer to her elbow. Could this be an indication of her injury beforehand? I'm not so convinced that it was caused by perpetrators, although it definitely shows that it could have been from her nose as well. But think about this. If there were people around her trying to shuffle to get her out of the house, do we really think there wouldn't be any shoe prints in those stains? It was the dead of night. Certainly they're not going to pay attention to these splatters and not want to step in them. I think that they may have come from this injury before. Regardless, find Nancy. Thanks for watching.